the value that you get from doing it this way is like 10x, 20x. Something that I hear pretty frequently from students, adult students, not students in music college, that's kind of a different thing, but they want to feel good on their instrument, they want to be strong. They'd like to continue developing, but they feel that they don't have the time to really make progress sort of at the craft and also learn the music for next week's church service, next Saturday's wedding band gig, next month's saxophone quartet recital, you know, things of this nature. I too have that same dilemma. At the end of this week, I have Snarky Puppy. I got to really refresh that material before the weekend. I've got a lot of different projects I'm involved in, a lot of things that I want to accomplish, like just getting better at the horn, getting better at playing, you know, students, I'm teaching, the same kind of thing, a lot of stuff. This week I've got a gig with a great guitar player, Andrew Renfro. Monday with Hadrian Farad. Both with their own books of music, and a lot of it is pretty, you know, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of notes, there's a lot of pages, there's a lot of things to be responsible for. There's a lot. It's not just the notes on the page, like getting the music, getting the phrasing, getting the challenges that the actual written music presents, right? But then a lot of these things, there's chord changes. There's like dealing with improvising over them too. So what do you do, or what can you do? I'll tell you what I do. I treat these things like I use the material at hand as the practice environment. So instead of saying, okay, today I need to do the whole saxophone power hour warm-up routine for 1 hour, or I'm gonna work on, you know, X, Y, or Z for 25 minutes, and then I'm gonna get to the music. Often what I'll do when I'm strapped for time is I just go straight into I go straight into the music itself, and I let that guide my practicing. I hope this microphone is on. Let's just take it's not simple, but let's take a small moment here. Check this out. This measure right here, that can be enough. Literally, I just put repeats around this, nice, and I kind of start sort of medium and then get slower. And I really analyze every note to note transition. How smooth are these? How am I executing them? Should that be a bis B flat and a side C? Does that make the most sense? I don't need to spend a ton of time on it, but some intentional time just really focused on this one measure. I'm going measure by measure. That's the takeaway here. Measure by measure. And getting in front of the mirror so I can really pay attention to my fingers and that everything is really smooth and even. All the transition, nothing, none of this. None of that stuff happening. No flying fingers. Couple of minutes on that one measure. It's amazing the ripple effect that can have, and also just kind of settles me and gives you sort of a calm as you're practicing something. It helps reduce the overwhelm of the everything and focuses it down to the something. And if you do the something, we can't do the everything, right? I think there's some part of us that might sometimes think that, oh, I can do everything. You can't, but you can do something. And you can make a lot of progress with something if you don't allow yourself to get completely flustered by it and overwhelmed. Speaking to myself here. Like this month in the studio, we're working on a bunch of things with Summertime. The song, the melody, listening to a lot of different versions, transcribing a solo and executing pieces of that solo as kind of like this, almost like a new exercise of material. It's so helpful. It has such gravity, and it's just so much deeper than like reading it out of a book, fluffing around with it and moving on to the next thing, I find. That's hard. Hey! I'm kind of back where I started. I'm not saying I'm back for good where I started, but after all of the, I mean, so many mouthpieces and this is nothing. By the way, this is nothing in terms of the mouthpiece reed situation. Look at this. I've started to organize them in like little Tupperwares, boxes of reeds and mouthpieces. Say cheese.
Cheese. I gotta make sure this shit works. Nah, you good, man. Alright.
For me to do this, loops are my friend. So I have all these songs pulled up in Logic. So I have the songs in here and I just make small loops. Like that's the thing. Small, I gotta make one right now. Do I have any ready to go? Let's find this. So then I will just practice that over and over and over and over again in real time, and then I'll do it kind of like half time for me on the sax, like boo ba be do dee da da be da. So I have to treat the music as the warm up, as the technique shed, as the everything. It's the whole enchilada. I'm serious about the repetition, like so much repetition. That's the thing. That's the secret. If there's a secret, it's the repetition. Well, I just dropped my daughter off at school, and last night was kind of a late night. Really fun though. Great band. Chris Fishman on keys, Jonathan Pinson on drums, Andrew Renfro on guitar, and it was his music. Really fun music. Tonight I'm playing at the Baked Potato with Hadrian Farad's band. I'm super tired. I would like to go back to bed, but I have so much music to do today, so much music to learn. What's up, Jason?
What's up? Unless it's gonna be on a Saturday.
Reload. What are you doing? Really? I mean, I guess so, but what are you thinking here? The end of this week I have Snarky Puppy, which it's been a little bit since I've played with them, so I got to really refresh that material before the weekend. I have these things saved. For every song in the repertoire, I just have little things that are saved to take me right to the part that I most need to focus on, and I'll kind of work backwards or from the inside out on it or whatever. And it's the same process that I would use to transcribe a solo or learn a new melody. This came up recently in my studio. Somebody was asking about this, or somebody had recently been dealing with a lesson I have on why transcribing and technical practice and such are not mutually exclusive. When you approach it this way, something that you're learning by ear, aka transcribing, becomes fantastic fodder. Fantastic fodder? Is that a t-shirt, perhaps? For practicing all the things that, maybe not all, but so many of the things that you want to address and you want to work on. And by going slow and on a small section, slowly and repeated, I can just really zone in on it and gain ownership of the material. It's like you transfer, it's not rented, you're not borrowing it, you begin to own the material. And that's, believe it or not, how this whole repertoire works. I know people often comment like, how come you guys don't use sheet music? And there are many reasons, but one of them is you'd be amazed what your brain can retain, what it can actually do if you engage it, if you let it, if you work with it in this way. It just happens to be that's a foreign concept to so many people, understandably so, who come up through the ranks of traditional music training, i.e. private lessons or playing in, especially playing like instrumental, band type instruments. If you come up in a band program and everything is reading music, it's one of the biggest challenges that I often encounter with students in my virtual studio, especially, adult learners who are just not comfortable, adult players who are not comfortable getting off the page. It's much easier to go and read a book of licks than it is to go and do the work of learning stuff off of records and such. I get that, I understand it. But the value that you get from doing it this way is like 10x, 20x, I don't know how many x more in what it does for your abilities as a player and to play music.